Today, I'm going to explain a drama film released in 2013 called Lovelace. This film is based on the true story of a woman who was forced into the adult industry by her husband. She went from being known as a sweet and innocent woman to becoming one of the most famous adult stars of the era. The film opens in Florida in the year 1970, where we see a young woman named Linda hanging out with her best friend Patsy. Linda is a 21-year-old woman who lives with her parents in Florida. Later that night, Linda and Patsy go roller skating. Patsy notices that the local band was playing very well. But since there were no dancers, Patsy and Linda volunteer to dance on stage. While they're dancing, they catch the attention of a man named Traynor. When Linda and Patsy leave for home, Chuck approaches them and introduces himself. He offers them the opportunity to dance professionally and make a lot of money. Patsy is attracted to the offer, but Linda isn't interested at all. One night, Linda attends a party with Chuck and Patsy. Linda and Chuck develop a relationship. After spending some time together, Chuck drops Linda home. Chuck notices that Linda is sad, so he asks her what happened. Linda then reveals that she got pregnant and had a baby last year. But her mother tricked her into signing the adoption papers, soon after which, her mother put the baby up for adoption. Now Linda doesn't even know where her baby is. Chuck then decides to meet her parents and tells Linda that her parents are going to love him. So one night, Linda calls Chuck over for dinner. Chuck tries to win over Linda's parents by pretending to have been in the army, impressing Linda's father, who is a veteran. Linda's parents are so much impressed with Chuck that they allow Linda to go out with him. Chuck and Linda then go to Chuck's house. Linda is doubtful about showing her body, as she has stretch marks on her abdomen because of pregnancy. But Chuck tells her that the stretch mark makes her unique and beautiful. Linda then returns home late at night, because of which she is berated by her mother. The next morning, Linda decides to move out to live with Chuck, as she no longer wants to live with her parents. One night, Chuck and Linda throw a party. Patsy goes to check on Chuck, who is watching an adult film. Chuck asks her if she likes it, but Patsy says no. Chuck then tries to kiss Patsy, saying that Linda won't mind. But Patsy refuses his advances and leaves. She then warns Linda that Chuck is not good for her. Linda sees that Chuck is watching an adult film, which he made himself. This is the first time Linda is watching an adult film and tells Chuck that good girls never do things like that. As time passes, Chuck, who is much older than Linda, starts teaching her various sexual acts and behaviors. Linda becomes desensitized to these activities and undergoes a significant transformation. Chuck's actions become more manipulative and controlling. One day, she gets a call from Chuck, who tells her to get some money to bail him out of jail. Chuck gets arrested for soliciting prostitution, but he claims to have had no knowledge of what was happening in the parking lot behind his bar. He tells Linda they need a lot of money to clear his name, so he takes her to a production company where she auditions for a role. Initially, the director dismisses Linda, considering her too innocent and lacking the physical features their audience desires. However, Chuck shows them a secretly recorded video of their intimate moments, which surprises the directors and leads them to cast Linda in their next project. During the filming, Linda meets Anthony Romano, the film's financier, who is impressed by her talent and considers it a worthwhile investment. Linda feels nervous about performing in her first adult film but receives encouragement from her co-star, who tells her they have the best job in the world and can truly be themselves in their scenes. With his support, Linda completes all her scenes successfully. As Linda's popularity grows, Chuck becomes concerned about being overshadowed. However, Anthony and the directors assure Chuck that he will also benefit financially. Linda's film becomes a tremendous success, earning over $30,000 at the box office and making it into the top 50 grossing films. She becomes a poster girl for the industry and is interviewed by various media outlets. During a private screening of the film in Los Angeles, Linda meets Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy. He is impressed by Linda's natural features and tells her that she has the potential to be more than an adult star. Linda is loved by the audience and she is living the best moment of her life. 6 years later, Linda is taking a polygraph test before publishing her autobiography. During the test, it is revealed that Linda divorced Chuck. She shares the harrowing truth about her marriage, including Chuck's physical and sexual abuse towards her. Linda recalls being forced into prostitution at gunpoint and enduring continued abuse from Chuck. Linda had no choice but to obey her husband. One night, she came to her parents' house, as she wanted to leave Chuck and move back in for a while. She tells her mother that Chuck hits her. But instead of sympathizing with Linda, her mother blames her instead for her situation. She tells Linda to be a good wife and do whatever Chuck asks her to do. Linda begs her mother to let her stay for a while, but her mother insists her to return to her husband. When Linda returns to Chuck, she tells him that she doesn't want to do the movie. But Chuck threatens her to do as he asks at gunpoint. So Linda has no choice but to do the film against her wishes. The next morning, Linda sneaks out of the house and goes to meet Anthony. She asks Anthony to clear their debts, as she doesn't want to be forced into the adult industry again. Anthony tries to persuade her to work in the sequel of the film, but Linda then reveals the abuse inflicted on her by Chuck. Anthony is disgusted by Chuck's actions and has Linda checked into a private hotel. He then calls Chuck to his room and beat him ruthlessly along with his bodyguards for abusing Linda and for the money he is owed. 6 years later, Linda divorced Chuck and married a man named Larry Marciano. She has a young son and lives with her family on Long Island. She receives a call from her publisher, who tells her that she passed the polygraph test. They now believe her story and are willing to publish her autobiography Ordeal. Linda's book, titled Ordeal, gains widespread attention, and she is invited to share her story on The Donahue Show. In her autobiography, Linda exposes years of abuse, as well as Chuck's theft of her earnings. She becomes an advocate against pornography and domestic violence, providing inspiration to others who may be trapped in abusive relationships. Years later, Linda reconciles with her parents in Florida after they watch her on The Donahue Show. The film concludes by revealing that Linda's film earned over $600 million worldwide, but she received only $1,250. Her book sells out multiple printings, and for 2 decades, Linda speaks out against pornography and domestic violence. Chuck goes on to marry another well-known adult star, Marilyn Chambers. Sadly, Linda dies in a car accident at the age of 53 in 2002, while Chuck passes away from a fatal heart attack 3 months later. And that's the story of Linda Lovelace.